here we are. First gaming interview here. We're still trying to figure out a good name. I'm not quite sure
Hmm.
yet what I want. I don't want to freaking call something out and then 3 weeks later be like, nah, it was a terrible idea.
Yeah. It'll come at a moment of inspiration.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But during this crazy quarantine time in life, I figure we can use Animal Crossing to our advantage and do our interviews via the virtual realm. So I am stoked for you to be here.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so Wes, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Now, uh, the general feel I'm going for is, gaming as a whole,
Hmm.
but I'll ask you, pretty specific questions about your experience with gaming, and then
Okay.
we'll kind of get into the culture and ethos of gaming from there. So, what, if you remember, was the first video game you ever played?
100% remember it. Back when I was younger, when you went to the dentist or the mall or something, there would be like a Nintendo 64 in a big plastic box.
Oh, I love it.
I don't remember the game actually, but I remember playing the Nintendo 64
Mm.
and just being completely like mesmerized by it. Um, and then the first time I got into gaming was at Christmas, where I asked for one. My parents kept saying no, 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 and then of course I wake up that morning and it was there, and I was like ecstatic. We had the original Smash Bros. 64,
I love it.
um, and then a little niche classic called Buck Bumble. Have you heard of that one?
I believe so. I'm pretty sure I have it
Yeah,
downstairs.
it's like you're a bee and you fly around, only you have a laser cannon on your arm and you can pick up other
I
guns and you
love
like fought other insects. It was kind of absurd. I don't remember the story, but I remember there was a game mode where you played soccer and
it.
picture Rocket League but with bees and cannons, and it was awesome. Way
Oh
ahead of
my
its time.
gosh. I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, I remember in a similar vein, we used to go to McDonald's and they'd have
Mm,
Game Cubes in the same kind of plastic boxes. And it was always like Sonic Heroes or like some multiplayer Sonic game. But the like buttons were all missing from the controllers,
yeah.
or like they're, super janky. Um, so yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Um, Now I know you personally, so I know you have a plethora of games you've played. But if you had to pick one, what would your favorite genre of games be?
Oh my. I think I'm always gonna be playing shooters. The first game
Yeah.
I got really into was Halo 2.
Okay.
'Cause my dad picked that up for me, and it came with the Xbox Live subscription, which
Oh
totally
wow.
changed like, yeah, how I view gaming. So that was the first game I really got like good at and sunk my teeth into. So I think I would stick with shooters. I find them to be like a competition is fun. We play
Yeah.
together. All these different games when you win a round in Valorant or you're in a chicken dinner in PUBG.
Yeah.
It's just fun to be with your friends. So I'll probably play those as long as I live.
Yeah.
Um, and then RPGs here and there with people, but if I'm picking one by myself to play forever, it'd be online FPS.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can totally get behind that. I used to tell people that if you wanted to play with your friends, you should get a 360. And if you wanted to play solo games, get a PlayStation 3 because PlayStation had so many more RPGs, but their online scene, I felt at the time, wasn't as good when
Yeah.
Halo 3 and Halo Reach came out, and but I think Xbox really was on top of it. So in that vein, I obviously had a feeling you're going to say FPS, but are you excited that Halo has been moved to the PC?
Yeah, I mean, I have joined the master race of the PC gamers since 2015.
Mm.
So the only thing that was a drawback for me, like I didn't really want to play The Last of Us or Uncharted whenever I got a PlayStation, but I always missed playing Halo
Mm.
when I switched over. So having the Master Chief Collection finally on Steam is great. Halo 2 comes out on Tuesday, so I'm going to relive my sixth and seventh grade years, pawning noobs on Lockout. It's
I
gonna be
love
great.
it. I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm sure we will have some content to put up of us stonking on some noobs.
Hmm.
I love it. Now, online play you have a couple different account names. I'm not gonna obviously out your account names, but one that I've seen often, and I have no clue where it came from. Swaggy Sheepdog. What's the word behind that?
Well, swag was a word that came around probably like when I was in college and people were using it all the time. I think it is the perfect word to describe like when you're comfortable with yourself and you don't mind, what people think of you. You just got
Sure.
that swag, and you're gonna flaunt it. And then sheepdog because I think that police memes making fun of people who refer to police as sheepdog is hilarious. Um, some people take that seriously. They, oh, I am literally like the protector of the world
Right.
and these people, and like it's just too much. So I do use it ironically. I don't use swag ironically. That is a word
Okay.
that I like a
Okay.
lot. So swaggy sheepdog. Put them together. Alliteration's always good,
There you
and it was
go.
easy, so I stuck with it.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I remember my account for a lot of things is Zelda and Link, and it used to be Zelda and Link forever. And the only reason that's my account name for things is because when AOL Instant Messenger came out, I could not think of an account name, and
Hmm.
Glenn just came to my room and he's like, "Dude, this is your account name," and he typed in Zelda and Link forever, and it's literally been my account for I don't know, like what, 15 years now.
Yeah, say I'm
So
looking at Discord right now, and there it is.
yeah, yep. It's just always my input for things, and it's all because of freaking AOL Instant Messenger. So
Those were the
yeah,
days.
yeah, dude, for sure. Uh, that's why, like, I for a long time I wanted to know what the influence behind the Swaggy Sheepdog was. So that's good to know. There's some meaning behind it.
Yeah, just like when I have any, like the other ones that I have, I'll generally Google them. I think of that
Yeah,
like a funny thing that I came up with or whatever, and if it's not there, I'll probably take it.
yeah, yeah. So you just talked a bit about Valorant, and we play PUBG and are starting to play Valorant now. But how do you feel about esports and streamers making careers out of video games?
I think it's awesome. I really wish that I would have had the foresight when I was younger to see this coming, but I guess nobody did. Like, a lot of streamers are pro gamers who then change career paths a little bit. Um, so I don't think it's for everybody, but I think it's a good thing. If there's a market for it, and they're not hurting anybody, they're not doing anything wrong, they're just doing what they love and seeing
Yeah,
it. No, yeah. Not only am I for it, I think it's incredible. Like,
yeah,
it's so good that people get to be able to do this for money, um, hopefully forever. It looks like gaming's not going anywhere. It's only getting larger
yeah,
as a community and a culture.
yeah.
So I'm happy for them.
No, yeah, I feel very similar to that. But with that idea of gaming becoming larger and kind of where we are right now with this pandemic and being inside, do you think that we'll see a spike in esports since normal sports are kind of getting kicked by the whole virus?
I think that we might see a slight increase, but it's already pretty big. I know. I think when I was in college. Oh, I know when I was in college, but I think that year that the League of Legends tournament, like the World Championship,
Mm,
happened.
yeah.
That was the first year they had more viewers concurrently than the Super Bowl.
Wow.
So that was like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think this will definitely get some more people into it, but the people who are into it are already into it. The people who are against it, I don't think are going to be swayed in this generation.
Sure.
Maybe like our children, and definitely our children's children will
Mm,
be watching them more than regular sports, but uh, not anything major because of the pandemic.
yeah.
If
Sure.
anything, it's going to hurt it because pros can't really play together, and not having a large arena full of people screaming and all those B-roll shots isn't going to make for a very interesting tournament for most people to watch.
Sure. Yeah. No, I understand that. Now, that's a really great segue because I want to talk about how we're kind of the generation, we're kind of that like the little middle generation of where we weren't necessarily raised on video games, but we kind of grew up with them.
Hmm.
And now there are, 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even really 18-year-olds who like they were born in the year 2000 and video games were already a prominent thing, whether it's GTA or something as benign as Animal Crossing. Those games existed when they were born, and I wonder how those things are affecting kids.
Hmm.
We see in media all the time, like, oh, violent video games are increasing violence in real life. I don't know if I agree with that, but I'm interested on your take there. Do you think there's a correlation between violent video games and increased violence in real life?
I think that there are isolated cases where somebody might go on a shooting spree and say, "Oh, Grand Theft Auto,"
Mm,
and I also think that in those cases, like that person is just generally doing a bad thing,
sure,
and they may not be able to control themselves. They may have other underlying issues um, that are actually the cause of the problem, and GTA is just sort of a like catalyst for it.
sure,
And it could be video games, it could be like their dog biting them, it could be somebody wronging them in real life. But no matter what, I think something could set them off, and video games aren't the only thing.
sure.
And actually, I would say that the strategy you learn from real-time games, the teamwork you learn from the games that we play, communication, that is all skills you can build up while playing video games. You don't have to, sit in a room and read books forever. You can do games with your friends, and as you can see in this quarantine, in your
Yeah,
experience, probably with us, like we haven't really felt any more distant than we normally are, even though we live 500 miles away from each other.
right.
We're just playing more video games. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
One little anecdotal thing: I'm a law enforcement officer,
yeah.
in my academy, I was the best shooter in our class,
Mm,
and I had shot handguns once before the academy, like casually with a friend.
wow.
Um, and then we had a little scenario where someone had to be a bad guy, and the instructor was like, "Hey, who's the best shooter in the class?" And I was like, "Oh, that was me, sir. I got the perfect score." And he was like, "Oh, cool. Were you like Army? Like, what'd you do?" I was like, "No, sir, just Counter Strike." And like, he didn't laugh,
Wow.
but I thought it was hysterical, and
Yeah,
everyone else laughed with me because
yeah.
hand-eye coordination. There's a point to be made
Right,
there.
right. Yeah, I mean, I'm constantly shocked by Valorant has really kind of opened my eyes to it. I'd never really gotten to CS:GO because I got in too late. I've always been an RPG guy, and
Hmm.
I love competitive shooters. Pretty recently, actually, like Halo Reach, I think was the first one I ever played. But playing Valorant, I'm realizing like the levels of people's skill when it comes to just annihilating other players.
Yeah.
And I think I had a game a couple days ago where it was like 13-0 in the other direction. Like we had not won a single match, and they won every single one. And I was like, I just can't. I couldn't keep up. So
Hmm.
it's definitely there is something to be said for sure about the hand-eye coordination. Now, switching slightly, I want to talk about the idea of indie games versus games made by big developers. I think
Hmm.
relatively recently we've seen a spike in good development games. I mean, Animal Crossing kind of ruined the world. I don't know if it's because of we're all trapped inside that Animal Crossing exploded the way it did, or if this many people were really waiting for Animal Crossing. But before Animal Crossing and Valorant, uh, so many of the conventions and conferences about gaming were like Cuphead and Dark Souls in a sense that like these huge corporations weren't producing these games. It was more like smaller developers, people with passion. Like, how do you feel about those two things coinciding?
I think that the prominence of indie games now can't be anything but good for the community.
Mm,
Like you said, you've seen it with Cuphead, Streets of Rogue that we play together,
yeah,
even Vermintide to some extent with such a small dev team. You see these games that just get love from the people who make them, and that means that the game's going to endure. You're not just going to play it for a month or two and you know get some garbage product out of it, like most recent installments of modern shooters that you have seen
mm,
recently.
mm-hmm,
Um, they come out, it's just a money grab, the game dies, and that's it. That's sad. But Animal Crossing, other games like I don't want to say Animal Crossing because Nintendo's freaking huge, but I think it's a
sure,
labor of love for Nintendo too.
sure.
You just see these developers who actually care and they want to succeed and they listen to their people, and it's a very good thing for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. No, I've been very encouraged by the prominence of indie developers, and even Nintendo as a huge corporation. I'm excited, or I was excited when they announced that the Switch would have access to indie games.
Hmm.
That was huge for me, especially being portable, because so many of these indie games you really only see released on the PC,
Right.
and I love that. But a game like, let's say Moonlighter, okay, it's really easy, kind of like you own a shop and you buy and sell items. You go into a little dungeon and you collect items and you sell them in your store. It's super basic, really cute, but I don't need my freaking huge PC to run this game, and I'd love to play it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, for sure.
yeah,
Especially a big developer like Nintendo getting on board with it.
yeah,
That's the perfect confluence of both effects. Like
mm,
having the big developers with the resources and the indie designers able to get their products out there and able to grow
yeah.
is definitely a good thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I remember seeing almost the opposite with the Wii U. I think Nintendo really like hurt themselves with that because no one wanted to develop a game for it because they had to
Hmm.
figure out what to do with the second screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they turned it around a little bit, which is good. But
I think actually, looking forward, indie development is going to be huge for VR. I think because
okay,
a lot of mainstream developers I don't think are jumping into that right yet because Call of Duty
sure,
is its thing and it probably wouldn't work very well in VR because you wouldn't be as mobile and as fast as jumpy.
yeah,
Um, Dark Souls and stuff like that. First person would be cool, but as you've probably seen from these VR
yeah,
uh, first person like hack and slash games,
right,
it's not the same.
yeah,
But unique ideas, different things. Even Half-Life Alyx has integrated it into their puzzles.
mm,
Being with Steam, all these different developers being able to get their hands on the tools, the PC is easy to dev for. It's gonna be pretty huge, I hope.
yeah, yeah. No, that's a great topic. Literally, my next question was about VR, so it's a great
Well, there
transition.
we go.
Yeah. I was really, the general question is, what are your thoughts on VR? How do you feel about it?
So I've played it a handful of times. Think it's super cool. It's
Okay.
another way to enjoy games. In New York, there was actually an arcade for VR. So you went in, you paid like $40, and you had the whole day to just jump between machines.
Wow.
And that was a couple of years ago. So there wasn't a lot of games. There was like 20 games, but super hot VR worked pretty well. There was like one where you went into space and you were like painting in basically infinite space, which was incredible.
Oh, that's so cool.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know how competitive it's gonna be because, like I said, with shooters, it's kind
Mm.
of hard to move around in VR. You can't really go very far. You have to like point at the ground and click a button, and then you kind of teleport there. Um, but
Yeah.
I'm not developing the games. I just know that people who are super smart are going to be doing it and have really good ideas. So there's so much to look forward to, and I'm definitely going to build my next PC around VR almost exclusively.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited about VR for sure, and I haven't had any experience similar to what you were just talking about, but I would love to. I think that's super cool. I I read a lot of books, and I've seen, even there's a really popular one that became a movie, is Ready Player One, where these kind
Mm.
of VR worlds, or this future of Earth, becomes kind of VR centric. Do you think that we would see something like that in our lifetime, or do you think we're not quite in that generation where that's a lifetime possibility?
I think we could. A lot of people in this quarantine, with the way that their jobs are evolving, are sort of complaining about the limits of video conferencing.
Mm,
Um, because you're not with your people, the internet's shoddy, which is always gonna be a problem. But you
sure,
just feel disconnected. You're looking at somebody, or you're looking at fucking freaking 12 people
sure.
on a screen in little boxes. It's not the same. But if you could have maybe a conference remotely with everybody in VR, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah,
People are gonna have to get on. Maybe we'll have smaller headsets that don't play games, but they just do like one room, like a conference room. It's a business thing,
sure.
um, and you buy it. It's got a processor. It's got a little video card,
Mm,
and you can do your conferences like that. Because I think this quarantine actually is going to change the way that work happens in the United
yeah,
States and hopefully the world. I think people deserve to be home more.
yeah,
So I'd like to see that in my lifetime. I think it's possible.
yeah, yeah. I I love that concept for sure. There was a book I was reading, and it's actually on the same kind of idea. It was, futuristic, and VR is a big thing, and it kind of devolves into the main character, living in a VR world, whatever.
Hmm.
But one of the lines from that book that I really appreciated, and I actually I want to see in the next year how we handle this, is he said, once we realized our work could all be done on a tablet, everyone carried their work around with them everywhere, and tablets
Hmm.
became outlawed because people never stopped working.
Yeah,
And
that's sort of been the
yeah,
problem with email too. People go on vacation are still expected to
right,
email and look at their phone once in a while. And I mean, that's sort of more of a workplace culture thing than a
sure,
technology issue, I think.
sure,
We'll see.
yeah, yeah. So I'm excited to see both ends. I'm interested, and I feel the same way with coronavirus. I think there's going to be some positive changes that are going to come out of this because
Hmm.
we've almost not necessarily needed this push, but we've needed a reason to have this change, and I think we finally have that reason.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can I make one related point that
yeah,
the
please
five
do,
people listening should hear?
please do.
Not serious, but when you do play VR, don't play racing games.
Mm,
Um, off the top of your head, sounds super awesome. Sounds like
okay.
it would be like the best purpose for VR.
Yeah.
But you strap into the little VR car, you put the headset on, and the way that your brain reacts to not moving but perceiving that it's moving is to vomit
Oh,
immediately. Um,
wow.
and I learned that at the arcade in New York. Cameron and I sat down. He said, "This is gonna be super cool. Like VR racing, it just makes
Right.
perfect sense." And I smacked into a wall, and I was just like going to die. It was horrible. I
Wow.
took off the headset and walked away.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's a
I would
PSA.
never think of that.
Don't play racing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I would never think of that as an issue, but you're probably right. I'm sure there's something to do with our brains not moving, but perceiving movement. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I read that like your brain thinks you're poisoned, so it tries to
Oh.
vomit. Could be true. Either way, it doesn't work.
Either way, there still needs to be
I
some
know the end result.
technological.
I don't care about the
Yeah.
cause.
Yeah, right. We still need some advancements in development before we can get
Yeah.
to VR racing games. I love it. Yeah, I remember I think one of the books I had read, they talked about their technology, in this fictitious world was to intercept the signals to your brain. So you're kind of like almost like in a comatose state on your bed, and the technology intercepts, instead of moving your hand in real life, you move it in the game because it's
Hmm.
intercepting your, neuro pathways or whatever. So I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that, but that's a fictitious solution to the moving not moving.
Yeah, or maybe like uh induced lucid dreaming kind of thing. Like if
Sure.
you could stimulate the brain in a certain way and make it sort of be
Yeah.
like a symbiotic thing where the brain tells the computer what to do and the computer then puts signals into the brain. That could be cool, but
Yeah.
I don't know about our lifetimes. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm sure like there's so much. I mean, even legally, like how
Yeah.
people don't want their emails read, like so there's no way you're gonna plug in and have your brainwaves analyzed.
Hmm.
So yeah, same topic though. VR, still on VR. Do you feel? Because this is kind of a struggle and not an argument necessarily I have with myself, but it's an internal monologue I have of
Hmm.
is VR escapism?
I don't think it's more escapism than games are.
Okay, okay,
At least in my experience, when I'm playing, it's more immersive in a way. You feel
sure,
more connected to the world and the space around you. But like video games are just a way to sort of forget what's going on in the world and think about something different. Get
yeah,
into a strategy with the boys, or
yeah,
take on another life in The Witcher, or you know,
yeah,
like Dungeons and Dragons kind of thing.
right,
And there are people who use video games as like an unhealthy coping mechanism and really want to forget what's going on in their
mm,
lives. Um, and VR, I don't think is any different.
sure, sure, yeah. Part of what I was trained in college is leading people in an outdoor setting, and a lot of that involves risk. And as you know, I'm a rock climber and you're a rock climber, and
Hmm.
we've both experienced the joys of rock climbing. When you are outside and climbing, there's real risk involved with any actions you do. I mean, if I set up my anchors incorrectly, there's
Hmm.
very very quick consequences to actions there. I wonder how video games are affecting the kids that we're raising in the context of there really isn't any failure in video games. Like
Yeah.
there, yeah, I'll leave it at that. How do you feel about that?
That's why I want my kids to play Dark Souls.
Okay.
because I think in Dark Souls, at least in my experience, it was the first game I played where I really had to think to get through it. Yeah, I think that my kids should play Dark Souls because there are times where you have armor, and you're in an area,
Okay.
and so you have to read the certain armor to see that it gives you great poison resistance. And even if you're like a big tanky dude, you want to switch to those tattered rags that give you poison resistance to get through the area.
Mm.
And that's just one of many times in Dark Souls where you come across a problem, you think about it for a while, you try different approaches, and then it makes you successful. And that sort of resilience is something that I think games can teach. There's a lot of other things that games do for you, but that's one thing that I want my kids to do with Dark Souls is learn about failure and learn about there's a way through every problem, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. A big part of I think life is failure, and I think a big part of growth is failure.
Hmm.
And it's rare to find a game where failure means a whole lot. But you're right, Dark Souls definitely has that feel. I know, like Barony and these roguelike games where you die and that's game over.
Hmm.
I for sure, I think I'm drawn to those games because I don't want to play as risky as I might, in a game where I'm just gonna respawn in 10 seconds. Like, I'll do what I
Right.
want. And yeah, so I think that's a great take on it. I think exposing your children to games that have a higher level of consequence can help learning in a safer environment. You know,
Right. And yeah, it's definitely not the same as going out and actually like
sure,
learning a life lesson.
sure,
But, I think everybody is just a result of their experiences. And these little things that you might not even realize are affecting you have
yeah,
affected your life in a positive or negative way. One thing you just said about the life lessons, and the way that the kids learn from failure, and everyone learns from failure. Even at 25,
sure,
I have failed, in things for work or like getting a new job. I had to work on certain things, and I did, and it took me a while, but I overcame it. There's a quote that I heard from an ex-Navy SEAL that goes like, "One great success, or somebody who's very successful, is the result of unspectacular preparation." Or
oh,
spectacular success is the result of unsuccessful. Sorry, the spectacular success is the result of unspectacular preparation.
mm,
That's not a word, but it means
right,
that guy who's a Navy SEAL who you might look up to in high school because he's strong and fast and resilient, has done 5,000 pull-ups and
right,
has suffered and has read a bunch.
right,
Every CEO, every priest you might look up to has like studied and been through things and probably failed at some point in their career path, and they had to find a way around it.
mm,
Um, I think a lot of people our age feel entitled to success in a way,
mm,
um, and they don't realize you have to be sort of in the dirt, and nobody's praising you. Nobody even knows you're doing it. You're doing it for yourself. Um, and if you don't do it, you're not going to be successful, and that's it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I've seen similar feelings and beliefs for sure. I I always give people the example of exercising. I will work out till I'm in shape and then
Hmm.
forget that the working out is what got me in shape.
Right.
I'll think to myself, "Oh, I'm in shape now. Therefore, I do not need to work out any longer."
Yeah. Or like for you specifically, you come to the rock gym with people who are new,
Right.
and everyone's like, "Oh, I'll never be as good as Dan," and
Right.
it's like, well,
Right.
Dan has been climbing for years in his
Right.
free time.
Right.
He didn't just show up and get there. He's
Yeah.
bought the hangboard. He's fucking nursed calluses.
Right.
He's used his lunch break to climb,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, right. So many times I have friends that are just like, "Oh man, like you're so good at this." And it's funny because I don't feel that good at rock climbing because I have like the people I hang out with have been climbing since they were infants.
Right.
And so, it's always perspective. You look up and you're like, "Whoa, those people are so much better." And you're right. It's all about where you're at. I mean, even gaming wise, like we were just talking about this with Valorant, there are people who are so good at Valorant. Like
Hmm.
Shroud is a known name, and the man is crazy at any first person shooter because he's been clicking on heads since he was like 4 years old.
Right. I
And
think that Shroud, and like those pro CS guys, if you watch, one thing I like about Valorant is if you watch them, they get crushed by the developers who
mm,
might not aim as well, but they use their abilities so effectively.
mm,
Um, when you get rushed on a site, if you slow them down and wait for your team to get there, you have a much better chance of success than, trying to get 3 headshots by yourself. And
yeah,
I like that about Valorant.
yeah. No, I feel that same way. I'm always drawn to games that involve strategy. I find the challenge to my mental state much better than simply I can't shoot as well as you.
Right.
And like I'm slightly calling out racing games here, but I've never been good at racing games, and I feel
Hmm.
like it's just like you gotta play until you're good, and then you'll beat everybody else.
Right. If you I don't like racing games that much either. Don't find them very interesting. But I love Mario Kart
Sure.
because the RNG is hysterical.
Yeah.
And the people who turn off items in Mario Kart are too sweaty for me. I don't want to talk to you.
I love it. Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that for sure. I remember even when I was younger and I'd have friends who were so into Super Smash Brothers that they're like, there's definitely no items on Super Smash Bros. And I'm like, I get
Hmm.
it. Like, I'm glad you love this game, but like, let the guy, aka me, who's gonna lose every game, like, let me get the hammer once so I can get a
Yeah.
kill. Like, show me some mercy.
And in Smash, there's a place for it. Like if you're
Yeah.
like literally trying to practice your character and you want to be on that YouTube compilation video, like yeah,
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
But when we have 5 people on one TV and we are 10 o'clock at night on a Friday, just basically half asleep, turning on items is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. So I've often said that my choice of superpower would be the ability to load and save life like a video game.
Uh-huh.
So, Skyrim, you got infinite save slots. If you could do that, what's one thing that you would do right now if you had like the risk-free, there's that, full take back, you can load your save file, never happened. What's the one thing you'd do?
I have no idea where I would start,
Yeah.
but I'd probably just try and do everything I could.
Yeah.
If you have that unlimited time to like pursue noble goals, but also do chaotic stuff, I think
Sure.
that'd be kind of a blast.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I love it. I've always thought it'd be so fun. Like you could spend an entire lifetime, like we're talking about, with these skills that take time to learn. You could spend a whole lifetime learning how to play piano,
Right.
and then load your freaking 16-year-old like birthday party save file and pull out Mozart's whatever and just crush it on the piano.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, yeah, I think that I think that's why I have that draw to that superpower is it's the time investment. You want to be good at something, you got to put the time in. And you're
Hmm.
right. I think our generation and even the younger generation I see sometimes too, they want the end result, but they don't want the time to be put in.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that if you just acknowledge that, like, you don't have infinite time on this earth,
yeah,
so yeah, instead of saying like, "Oh, I'll never be that good," and kind of putting off practice immediately, just
yeah,
maybe like I don't have the inclination to do that.
sure,
Um, and that's fine, I think. But I think that the mentality that you're not good enough to even attempt something is dangerous.
yeah, yeah. I would totally agree. I've changed my way of thinking rather recently, and I started drawing again, and I was trying to draw this certain thing and it just wasn't looking the way I wanted and it was getting really frustrated, and I realized the way I want to start thinking is in 20 years I'll probably be better at drawing.
Hmm.
Like it's probably not going to be tomorrow, it probably might not even be next year, but by the time I'm 45 I'm going to have some pretty fire drawings if I keep drawing every
Right.
day. And so, you start to think that way and then pick the thing that you want to be good at. Like if you want to be good at first person shooters, then play a first person shooter for an hour a day until you're 20, until you're 25,
Hmm.
whatever. Like play it each day and you will get better. You may not be Shroud, but you will get
Yeah.
better.
You have to have realistic goals,
Right,
but
right.
everything comes with time, especially skills like that are going to
Yeah,
serve you well when you're older, and
yeah,
creativity is important too.
right.
So
For sure.
definitely.
For sure. To kind of wrap it up, I want to ask you last question here. Out of
Hmm.
all of the games that you have played, which one do you think has affected your real life the most?
Hmm. I think I'm gonna go back to Dark Souls on that one for
Sure,
sure.
sure.
Because something I took my time with, I savored it. Um, I checked every nook and cranny and did everything my own way. And I felt like afterward, I just had a different perspective, a more resilient perspective. It could also be because I was reading meditations at the time,
Sure.
um, which is a great little 95-page piece of ancient philosophy, super easy to comprehend. It's all about, if you are a person, there are things outside of your control, but the
Mm,
things you can control, you have to acknowledge them and go after them.
yeah.
So being able to, in Dark Souls, go back, acknowledge my failures, fix them, and reading that book at the same time in like a very formative state of like post-college life, definitely helped me become, I think, a more resilient person and somebody who can like compartmentalize events. So if something's not affecting me, I don't feel like I have to worry about it so much. Um, I don't get stressed out about things I can't control either. Like even if they do affect me, if I really have no control over it, then I have to move on
Yeah.
and I have to do something different.
Yeah. No, that's huge. I think in a environment where gaming really encourages control, you are the main character always.
Hmm.
I think that's a great lesson to take away from gaming is that you can't be in control of all things all the time.
Yeah, and if you
And
aren't,
yeah,
like, if someone's better than you can't get upset about it.
yeah,
You have to just keep playing and keep working hard.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, Wes, thank you so much for coming over to the old island, the interview of the island here. You were a great guest, and I am excited to upload this video and see where we go from here, and of course play more games with you. You are a
Yeah, man.
staple of the gaming brotherhood. So
Oh, stop. That's got to be our clan name.
I
No,
love
this
it.
was really fun. I think you asked some great questions that I wasn't expecting.
Thank you.
About gaming culture and my life in general. I felt engaged, and I'm sad it's over.
Yeah,
Honestly.
yeah. Hey, well, look, if we get more than 5 people to watch, maybe we can do a West 2.0.
Not just about me, but
No, of
more
course.
questions as life goes on. We tied this
Yeah,
into the virus. We tied this into the
yeah.
future of work and VR, and
Right.
it's a good conversation that haven't had many of those since we've been trapped inside all day.
Yeah, no. I mean, the goal here for me is to engage the friends that I have and the people that I game with in the gaming culture, but also into whatever's happening around us and how that affects us, both as gamers and as friends. So,
Yeah.
for sure.
So on that note, I'm gonna go hop in Valorant.
Sounds
See you
good.
later.
Yeah, I think I might join you. I will talk to you later, Wes.
Bye bye.
Bye. Hey there, everybody. Thanks for watching that interview with my good friend Wes. We are in, as I affectionately called, the Gaming Brotherhood. Not really a real thing or even a real title that we actually use, but he's among my closest friends and one person I game with often. My plan with these interviews is to bring my friends in and just engage them via questions, both with their personal experience with gaming and, gaming culture as a whole. I think you saw a little bit in this video what my hopes and my goals are for these kind of interviews. I'm using Animal Crossing as my medium since it's kind of the safe, easy way for us to have these kind of podcast like interviews, but not do it in person. And this way, we're still using, the medium of gaming. So you'll have these videos posted on YouTube, and then I plan to also post the audio as a podcast. If anyone has a good idea for a name, go ahead and leave a comment, because I'm not quite sure what I want to name it yet, but I think it'll be fun to interview my friends and to try to engage gaming culture while we spend time playing Animal Crossing and chatting about life and what's going on around us and how gaming affects that and us as individuals. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.